This is the world's premier online racing simulation. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat from your home computer with the most realistic online motorsports experience you'll find anywhere. Race virtually in the world's biggest events with officially licensed series, cars, and tracks. From the high banks of Daytona to the blistering speeds of Indianapolis, the dirt of Eldora to the world's most legendary road courses. It's all here, and with more than 180,000 people just like you already driving, you'll always have someone to race. Ready to get behind the wheel? Sign up at iRacing.com to get started.
The Virtual Grip Network and the Bootleg Racing League welcome you to the Dirt Street Stock Series. John, we're here at I-55 tonight. This place is a fantastic track. I think you're a fan of it. I can't really tell for sure, though.
I love this track. This is my hometown track. It's about a half an hour from here. In fact, I will be at this track tomorrow night to watch the SRX series with Tony Stewart and Tony Kanaan and the rest of those guys. But a really fun track. It's a driver's track. You can go low, you can go in the middle, you can go up high. We're going to have a fun night. Nice bull ring, lots of options. I can't wait to get this show started.
For sure. Well, I mean, for starters, John, this place, I mean, you mentioned, it's a eighth of a mile track. It's pretty much just a bull ring. I believe Ken Schrader is one of the main proponents of this track, and SRX is coming here. That should tell you everything you need to know about just the kind of facility we're at here tonight. First off, though, I'd like to cover the points for this series. We're getting deeper and deeper into this championship. You can see some more information about tonight on your screen there, all the weather and stuff. We're going to touch on that just a little bit later, but overall we do have some points on play here for tonight. You can see Brandon Proudfoot continues to lead the championship. We're going to have to see if he gets upset this year by one of his competitors, but boy, for right now it doesn't seem like he's got a chink in that armor. You see J.R. Shepard, the driver, in second. Billy Northcutt rounds out the championship podium. John, any names on here that kind of jump out at you?
Yeah, JR up there second in points. It's good to see him. This is a really good season that he's having, from a point standpoint. And we know what he does on Saturday nights around here in BRL. And he's having a good season here. But as I look further down, though, where William Hargraves, a little bit further down, he's a former contender for a championship. I think you're going to see a lot of guys that may not be in the points, but still be contenders tonight. So, expect the unexpected here, because a lot of things can happen. A lot of things can happen fast. It's pretty easy to get yourself in trouble here. So be on your toes and enjoy the race.
For sure. You can see some more of the race details on your screen. As always, I'm Austin Belke. Alongside me in the booth is the Professor John Hine. Mike Yao is the director behind the scenes. He's up in the production trailer bringing us all these fantastic camera angles tonight. Air temperature is 70 degrees Fahrenheit, 41% humidity, overcast skies here, not too windy. You can see the track temperature a little bit cooler after the sun has set. And John, how about this typical dirt track racing? What can we expect as a fan tonight?
Well, I think what you can expect is guys are going to be running close quarters. You might see some sheet metal, touch, and these guys are going to have to keep their cool. If you get kind of bumped around a little bit, you just kind of focus and not get caught up in all that. And if you start going head hunting or want to, return a favor, you better do it in a manner, number one, that eludes the review committee, and number two, make sure you don't get yourself caught up in anything. And just a lot going on, and you don't have a whole lot of space to do it here.
Certainly not. In terms of what you can expect from the race format for this evening, the drivers are currently about 5 minutes out of finishing their 20-minute practice. Then we have qualifying. That's your best 4 laps over 5 minutes. Not your best 4 laps. You got to put down your best lap. You get 4 of them to do that. After 5 minutes, then we go to the heat races. There's 6 laps apiece, where the top 2 drivers advance to the feature. And then after that, we go into the C main and the B main, and that's going to go ahead and set the rest of the field. Of course, the field caps off at, I believe, about 18 drivers. So it's going to be interesting to see who can make it. So far tonight, we're just around that cap of we might send drivers home. And John, that's just the worst feeling when you have to go home from a race.
Oh, absolutely it is. And I'll tell you this, you know, it also changes the way that you do things from qualifying over to the heat race. You know, your big goal is to make the show. So everything you do the second you're on that track, that's what you're doing. You want a good qualifying to get a good start and spot in your heat race. You want to transfer through your heat race, which means finish first or second. If you can't do that, you want to make sure you're finishing maybe third or fourth so you can be in a good solid spot in the B, so you can get yourself into that A main.
Now, John, you look over on the left-hand side of the screen here. We've got some names up there. That's the current timing for tonight. You see William Hargraves currently winning practice with the fastest time. Billy Northcutt, excuse me, about 1/100th of a second behind him. Then Brandon Proudfoot is about almost a 10th off that fastest time. But we really don't need to be too worried about these practice times, John.
Oh no, you know, it depends on when you hit the track. You know, some guys might have gotten here right when the track opened, and they're going to get out there and have the benefit of a nice tacky track. Some guys might have didn't hit the track until a little later in the session, and you see that black stuff on the track. Well, that's slick stuff. That means no grip, and thus their lap times may not look quite as impressive as those guys that came out early.
John, in terms of where these guys are going to end up running on the track tonight, I see Malachi Smith down there right along the bottom. Of course, now he decides to move up to the top side. I see a lot of drivers, though, up near the top of the track. Is this a high-line track?
Yeah, you know, if you can make it work, it will be. It gets pretty treacherous, so especially over in 1 and 2 where you're kind of, you know, touching the wall a little bit, and you know you can step over that edge pretty easy, especially coming out of 2. That crossover gate that's in the middle of the backstretch can grab you. But you know what? If you're really good with throttle control, you've got options. You can go low, you can go right through the middle on the slick. You just got to keep that car rolling, keep the momentum up. Use the throttle to keep your RPMs kind of matched really well, and next thing you know, you'll be going towards the front.
Certainly. Now, John, you know, the track is often going to slick up towards the end of the night. You know, that's when these drivers have the most fun. But if you're out there on track right now, are you practicing to run the high line, or are you kind of making sure you've got all your bases covered? So if you get out there, you know, maybe you're on the bottom on a restart. Are you out there trying to feel out the track down there right now too?
Yeah, I'm at all points just try to cover everything, so I kind of know what I've got to do throttle-wise, especially right now. I'm happier when the track is like this because this is closer to what you're going to see in the feature time. You want to run all over and do everything that you can and get comfortable with what you need to know and apply that when the time comes.
Yeah, thank you, John. We've got about 2 minutes left here in terms of practice. You can see the timing board on the left-hand side of your screen. Not really changed a whole lot. You still got Hargraves up top, then Northcutt, Proudfoot, Chris Davis, Bobby Hayes. Bobby currently out there on track in his 13 Fistful of Water car, trying to race there around Joe Segal. These drivers really enjoying being able to practice side by side with one another because you really get to see just how fast one lane is versus the other and how worthwhile it is to stay in one lane and see if you can't try to race around other drivers up there because, John, the worst thing you want to do is go out there without having any knowledge of how to race your fellow competitors on this track.
Yeah, at a track like this, you know, the nice thing is this is a pretty close-knit group here, and these guys have run, you know, we've got a couple of new guys, which is great to see them in here, but most of these guys have logged many laps around each other, so that kind of gives you a little bit of a benefit. You kind of know guys' tendencies. When you're on a small track like this, I can't begin to tell you how important that is.
These guys are about to go into qualifying, and that means the track gets freshly cleaned off. All that black stuff you see on the top side, that goes away. We're back to that grippy, tacky track. John, when we get down into qualifying here, are these guys going to be ripping the bottom, or does it take a couple laps before the top line comes in, or maybe they can just go right up there?
No, they'll be ripping the bottom in qualifying. They'll get down pretty close to the wall, if not on the wall. Some of the guys I think you'll see on the wall. Some of the guys you'll see probably about a half a lane maybe a full lane up away from the wall there, depending on where they're able to keep their RPMs pegged the best. And up top right now, you'll lose too much time up there.
For sure. Practice winding down here. We've got about 10 seconds left before these drivers are kicked into qualifying. You're seeing the guys cross the finish line for the final time, and then the track will go dark for a moment, and then everyone else will get to start their qualifying times. Brandon Proudfoot breaking what he normally does in terms of waiting a while to go out on track. Finally goes out on track right away. He doesn't even wait. Usually he waits a couple minutes and then goes out there and tries to put down a fast time. Robbie Robinson out there. You see Brandon Proudfoot, the rectangles on the bottom of your screen. If they're gray, yellow, or purple, some of them are yellow at times as well. If they're green, that means a driver's personal best lap time. If they're purple, that means the best lap time in the session or versus sector times. Sector 1 is turns 1 and 2. Sector 2 is turns 3 and 4. So if you put down purple sectors, you are certainly going to have the fastest lap. Chris Davis goes out there. He puts down a purple sector 1. You see Robbie Robinson out there currently first on the timing charts. Chris Davis, though, puts down a double purple, shoots to the top of the board.
Yeah, good lap there by Chris Davis. That's a pretty good benchmark. In fact, even in practice, we only had one driver that was in the 14s, even in that. No, we had two of them, Northcutt and Hargrave. So that 1493 is that's going to be a tough one. In fact, that's the fastest lap we've seen all night.
Certainly is. No one is able to get even close to him anymore. Robbie Robinson, the closest driver, and it's all relative speaking, of course. Brendan Myers, you see, he's about a tenth and a half off pace. Jeffrey Harden shoots up to second on the board, though he's still 9/100ths of a second off Chris Davis. Bobby Hayes shoots up there, takes about a third of that gap down. He's got about 6/100ths of a second.
Yeah, these guys are getting close, but they're not getting down there. Bobby Hayes, obviously, the second guy into that 14-second bracket. But I see both those guys, Northcutt and Hargraves, they haven't taken up. Hargraves just went to the top of the 1488, new quick time for the night. But Northcutt is yet to take a lap here, and he was the other guy in practice that was in that 14-second bracket.
Certainly is. J.R. Shepard is out on track right now. We didn't even see him go to complete his 2 lap times, but he has jumped up to the 3rd fastest time on the board. William Hargraves, though, what a killer of a lap. Double purple sectors, comes out on top, obviously. Brandon Proudfoot, though, really surprised me. He's about 2.5 tenths off the current pole time, John.
Yeah, he is, and he's been running a lot of the pro jumpy trucks, as I like to call them. So he may not be completely focused in getting the practice he needs or has been getting to get ready for these races here. And I tell you though, I've seen Brandon race. You know what? The qualifying time, I wouldn't be too worried about that. That cat comes to play when that green flag flies for the feature.
He certainly does. It's going to be a true testament to just how fast he is and how well he can always read the track here when these races start going, because if there's one driver that's able to come through the field and still win, it's Brandon Proudfoot, hands down 9 out of 10 times. Even if he doesn't have the fastest car, there's always a golden horseshoe moment. It seems like the seas just part like Moses himself, and Brandon goes up there to win. So it's definitely going to be a pretty awesome race on our hands here tonight. We've got about a minute and a half left in terms of practice. Chris Davis out there. I'm not sure if this is the rest of Chris's laps or he might be just going out for some more practice. Billy Northcutt, though, puts down a purple 2nd sector. That's going to push him up to 3rd on the board, pushes J.R. Shepard and company down 1 slot. Billy, though, putting a yellow sector in turns 1 and 2. This might not be his fastest lap.
No, but not a bad lap being P3 there. That's going to put him in probably a front row position for a heat race. So trust me, that's where you want to be on a track like this. That'll get you a good start to getting into the main event.
It certainly will. Obviously, you want to start as high up the order as possible, but we do have a couple opportunities to start even higher than where you're qualifying. There's obviously the heat race. You can always improve your position in the heat race. Now, granted, we're only setting the first 4 qualifying spots in those heat races. All the spots after that are going to be set in the C main and the B main, so lots of opportunities. If you don't quite qualify where you'd like to go ahead and move yourself further up the column.
Yeah, and looking at the times here, you basically a little over a tenth separates about 5-6 guys, and when you're that close, you want to be up front because if you're starting 5th or 6th in a heat or even 4th, you're going to have your work cut out for you, and that's where we touch base there with Brandon Proudfoot. He is down that list quite a ways here, so if I have a run like that, my first goal is to get as far up in that heat race as I can, get a front row starting spot in that B if all possible, and then just go to work.
Certainly. That, of course, though, brings us to our heat number 1 starting lineup order. William Hargraves lines up on pole with J.R. Shepard to his outside. Robbie Robinson lines up in 3rd with Kevin Davis in 4th. John Wilson, Dilly Corey round out the 3rd row, and Jason Dill is shotgun on the field. John, if you're William Hargraves right here, are you going to start on the inside or on the outside?
Yeah, I'm going to take the inside.
William Hargraves has the same kind of mindset here. You see J.R. Shepard lining up on his outside.
Yeah, right now there's just so much tack out there. You're going to be able to hook that bottom pretty easy. And right now, that being the shorter way around, you know what? That's probably the smart play here. Now, next heat race, because the one thing that's notorious about this track is it wears quickly. We may see that change for that next race. I expect a lot of that slime and that shiny wet stuff to be gone by the end of this race.
For sure. So a couple key observations there, John. Obviously hedging some bets before we go ahead and drop the green flag here. iRacing pace truck comes through turns 3 and 4, pulls down pit road, gives command of the field over to William Hargraves, He puts his foot down on the floor, tries to zoom away from the rest of the field, does a pretty good job of is able to clear himself up ahead of J.R. Shepard just to make sure that J.R. can't possibly mount another attack for the next couple corners at least. They're too wide, though. The battle for 3rd position, that's Robbie Robinson on the inside. And, of course, the 121 car of Davis on the outside.
Yeah, and Kevin Davis is actually a transplant from the Coast to Coast Racing League. I run with him a lot. He's a guy that has pace, and you got to keep an eye out, especially in these what we like to call them full-bodied cars here. So, new guy here on the scene for Bootleg Racing, but definitely a guy that you're going to want to watch.
Yeah, not so accustomed to having fenders, but John, fenders or no fenders doesn't really bring a whole lot of speed when these guys just have the raw talent coursing through their veins.
Yeah, and when you have the talent and you get enough of guys with the talent, which that's what you do have here in this league, makes it difficult to pass, and that's where I was going back to having to keep your emotions and everything in check. You could get frustrated with a guy and not be able to get around him, or maybe you get a little bumper put to you to say, hey, you need by, and you got to keep your cool.
Certainly do. You see Kevin throwing it in there on J.R. Shepard, not able to make those passes. J.R. having a bit of connectivity problems so far, but J.R. doing a great job to keep that second position. Second, so important because it's the last driver to transfer to the feature automatically, but William Hargraves comes off turn number 4 to win his heat race. He and J.R. Shepard automatically advance to the feature event here later tonight. Kevin Davis, Robbie Robinson, John Wilson round out the first couple drivers. You can see Dylan Corey in 7th, Jason Dill rounds out the field in 7th. The heat number 2 lineup order, Chris Davis on pole. Bobby Hayes starts to his outside. Butch Baker starts 3rd. Steven Spees rolls off in 4th. Rounding out the last row here, Brandon Proudfoot and Malachi Smith. John, looks like Chris Davis is going to choose the inside again, so not as fast as the top line so far, but obviously that move, the line, continues to get further and further up towards the wall.
Yeah, there's already a pretty good slick line that's actually in that top lane, and that's probably going to contribute to these guys choosing that low line. They can use that tack to fire off, and that can actually go in under the slick and still keep your speed up here. So, a smart move by Chris Davis here, and I tell you, I'm gonna have my eye out in that second row there. I got a gambler teammate there, Steven Spees, and Steven's actually going with me tomorrow over to Peevely right here with SRX. So pretty cool for him to be out there on track, and got to be there tomorrow.
Certainly is. iRacing pace truck pulls down pit road. Chris Davis doesn't waste a second of time. Interesting there. Butch Baker loses a handful of spots there out of turn number 4 as they cross the finish line. You see Steven Spees having to let him back. I'm not quite sure, though, because they passed on the inside. That might be a penalty for a couple drivers.
Yeah, the 13 just didn't fire. Steven's pulling into the pits. I'm going to guess maybe a penalty there, and tough break for him early on, but he's going to have to come back and get his way up through the B mains here. But yeah, that start was just really off keel. Like I said, that 13 there of Bobby Hayes just did not get going.
Well, I think actually it might have been the 113 car of Butch Baker. He's the one that gridded up in the second position. Bobby Hayes. Oh, no, excuse me, it was Bobby Hayes. That's my bad. The two cars being 13, of course. The one not really showing up on Butch's car. But, yeah, John, you called it absolutely correct. Chris Davis continues to fly away from this field. Currently, he's got about a 1.3 or more second lead.
Yeah, Chris has got this heat race well in hand. The real battle is for that last transfer position between Malachi Smith and Butch Baker here.
Yeah, Malachi all over the rear end of Butch Baker. Inverse of that, excuse me. Those two drivers continue to swap spots back and forth. You see now the 97 car, Butch Baker on the inside of Malachi, trying to do a really good job of keeping off of him, like you mentioned there, John, being clean, not getting in the way, though. Chris Davis crosses the start-finish line, though. He's going to win heat number 2. Looks like Malachi Smith is going to automatically transfer to the feature event as well. Butch Baker, Bobby Hayes, Brandon Proudfoot, Steven Spees round out the rest of the field. Unfortunately, the bottom 4 drivers going to have to go on to the C and B mains. The heat number 3 starting lineup looks like Billy Northcutt starting on pole. Jeffrey Harden lines up in second. Brendan Myers starts third. Hunter Hill in fourth. Joe Segala in fifth. Kevin Nunn rounds out the 6-car field for this heat number 3. And John, how about the qualifying effort from Jeffrey Harden? He continues to further and further improve on his qualifying times.
Well, and yeah, not just his qualifying times. I've had the pleasure of watching a few of these now, and each week he seems to get a little better. And as you continue to progress forward, eventually you're going to get up there and start making noise up front, and maybe snag one of these wins.
Certainly, Jeffrey Harden got really close. The last time I had the pleasure of commentating one of these races to winning the race, he finished on the podium. He continues to get closer and closer, and just that the consistency of your podium finishes is what's going to bring on the wins and the further successes in these bootleg racing events. Looks like Billy Northcutt is going to choose the inside one more time in that 00 car.
Yeah, looking at the track, I think that's going to be the safe play. And I'll be surprised even we get to the feature if anybody chooses that high side.
Interesting to hear that you feel that way, John. Usually at these tracks, the high line comes in a lot faster than we would expect to, especially with the cars here tonight. I would have figured it would have gone up there a lot faster than it has, but it doesn't really seem to be moving up there too fast, so I'm more and more inclined to agree with you. The lights are out atop the iRacing pace truck. He's going to pull down pit road, this time through turns 3 and 4, and then give command of the field over to Billy Northcutt in that 00 car. Jeffrey Harden, his outside. We'll have to see if he gets a better restart here than Bobby Hayes did in the last heat. Drivers waiting until they're firmly on the front stretch to get going. Billy Northcutt shoots away, though. He's firmly clear into first position. You see Brandon Myers, though, to the inside of Jeffrey Harden. Jeffrey gets a huge run, though, off of turn number 2. Challenges him to the outside as they head down into turns 3 and 4. Joe Segala looking to get up into this fray. They're still too wide for the second position. Head down into turns 1 and 2 once more. The groove slowly but surely moving up the track. They're fighting now in about the middle. The two drivers making contact. Myers on the inside, Harden on the outside. They head down into turns number 3 and 4 one more time. As they come out of there, Jeffrey Harden takes away the second position. He's now clear. That's going to be Hunter Hill now in the 12 car on the outside of Brett Myers in the 25.
Yeah, the contact there between the 25 and 36, that is the case of two guys just going for the same spot here. And you know, I've said it a few times now, close quarters racing, not a lot of room to operate. And if two guys are thinking the same thing, you're going to see that happen every time.
Certainly is. Fortunately for these guys, though, these cars, like you mentioned, are full-bodied, so they have the fenders to want to go ahead and drive right next to each other. Lap 5 out of 6 here, we've got 2 to go. Currently, it's Billy Northcutt with about a 2.5 lead over Jeffrey Harden. He's about 0.8 of a second clear over Hunter Hill and Brendan Myers. Those two continuing to swap those spots back and forth. White flag in the air, though, for Billy Northcutt this time, John.
Yeah, Northcutt has control of this race here. And, we got a big slide job there for third, but he's not going to hold on to it. And they're beating and banging there at the back. But, yeah, Northcutt's going to hold on to take the win here.
Yeah, Northcutt comes across the start-finish line to win your third heat. Jeffrey Harden comes home in second, so those two drivers advancing to the feature. So now the first 6 spots of the feature event are taken. We all know how they're going to line up. You can see the Heat 3 results on your screen. Now we're looking at the next race. You got Kevin Davis on the pole. Hunter Hill to his outside. Bobby Hayes in third. John Wilson rolls off in fourth. Rounding out the last row is Brendan Myers and Steven Spies.
Yeah, it looks like 6 are going to take the flag here, and all 6 of these guys are going to transfer, so there's not any risk of not transferring. And I think the next one's going to have 7. So, boy, I tell you, luck of the draw getting in this one, because I do believe the next one guy may be going home.
Yeah, especially if you're Steven Spies. Through no fault of his own, he got a penalty, and that really just took him completely out of contention in the last race. So I'm sure he was not very pleased with the finish of that event. But luckily, he's got a couple more chances, this one mainly, to get into the feature event here. So looks like Kevin Davis. Go ahead, John.
So Steven's had a little bit of a rough last 24 hours. I'm not going to name names, but he got put into the fence a little bit last night running second in the late model race trying to pass the leader, and that didn't work out either. So he's going to have a chip on his shoulder. Watch him to come forward.
Certainly will. He's, of course, one of the faster guys, too. We usually see him up battling for podium position. So that's where he would have started and finished in his heat race. So pretty surprising, of course, that he falls this far down the order. He's definitely going to be on the charge up through the field. iRacing pace truck prepares itself to pull down pit road. Going to give command of the field over to Kevin Davis. It's up to Kevin to launch when he wants to. As soon as the pace truck gets off the track out of turn number 4, he does a fantastic job of that. Not quite clear, though, of the number 12 car in second place. That's Hunter Hill on the outside. Kevin's going to clear himself down the back stretch. Hunter's still trying to hold on to that second position. You can see it's an absolute hornet's nest there for third position on back, John.
Yeah, they're side by side and really have nowhere to go. And Steven gives John Wilson a pretty good shot there and moves him forward a little bit, but now Steven's going to have to go to the bottom here and see if he can make that bottom work to get around these guys. When you get side by side, nowhere to go. But we got a battle brewing for the lead here between 3 guys.
Yeah, I spoke about side-by-side with Spies and Wilson. There's a battle side-by-side for the lead. That's Bobby Hayes on the inside. Kevin Davis in the 121 car on the outside. Hayes looking like he wants to make himself through. He clears himself down the front stretch ahead of Kevin Davis. There's 2 extra laps in these races compared to the heat races, 8 of these. Steven Spies on the bottom. They're 3 wide coming off turn number 2. Spies shoots it to the inside in turns 3 and 4. Able to hold on to that position for right now, but I'm sure Spies would like to win this race, John.
I think so. And then just, from the eyeball test watching this, he's got the fastest car on the track right now. So, like I said, a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. Last night, a teammate that may or may not be one of these broadcasters here tonight kind of put him in the wall a little bit. Now he had a bad heat race. And I tell you, I've been around that guy. I've seen him when he gets a chip on his shoulder. He gets fast.
Must be a pretty large chip on his shoulder, but one that doesn't weigh anything. If anything, it's taking weight off the car. He's got about 2 laps to go. See if he can get any closer to Bobby Hayes. He's halved the lead in the last lap or 2, so if he continues at this rate, he'll get there at the absolute last second. He's really throwing the car into the corners.
Yeah, that time that hurt him a little bit. Got a little bit sideways there, and I think he spun the tires just a bit through about the center of the corner there. But that corner there brings him right to the bumper. But I think he's going to run out of time here.
He's just ever so slightly going to run out of time. They come off turns 3 and 4. Bobby Hayes clear for the win here in the C-Main. Steven Spies finishes second with the fastest lap time of the race, 0.2 of a second. They're faster than Bobby Hayes, who was your winner. The last 3 cars, though, going to finish on your screen. We'll have those results in just a second. You can see Kevin Davis in third, John Wilson fourth, Hunter Hill fifth, Brendan Myers comes home in sixth position. But of course we have the B main next, and John, you called it correctly. 7 guys have to fight for 6 spots in the feature event. Butch Baker starts on the pole with Robbie Robinson to his outside. Joe Segala and Brandon Proudfoot complete row number 2. Dylan Corey and Kevin Nunn complete the 3rd row with Jason Dill lining up tail end Charlie.
And that's going to be the real battle on the track, that 6th and 7th place. So one guy is going to race the feature, and one guy is going to watch it from the pits. And you said it earlier, it's not a whole lot of fun sitting in the pit area and watching your buddies go out there and throw some dirt.
Now, we can't even invite them up in the booth with us, John, and this is a pretty good time hanging out with you and DJ for these races. So, unfortunately, that's the worst place you want to be, is hanging out on pit row with your race car and your race trailer, especially when the gas and tires don't cost you anything in iRacing. But Butch Baker looks like he's going to choose the inside line here once again, so obviously kind of telling us, without us going out on track, which lane he thinks is the fastest.
Yeah, this should be an interesting race. We got our point leader in the 2nd row in a B main. That should tell you how difficult things can be here in BRL and how close the competition is when the point leader, who's been pretty dominant this season, has to go through the B to make the show.
Certainly is. iRacing pace truck pulls down pit road. Butch Baker waits to put his foot on the loud pedal and does so out of turn number 4. He's clear ahead of Robbie Robinson. You see Brandon Proudfoot, though, up there running almost next to the wall. He's not going to gain any spots. He might gain 3rd from Joe Segala. Robbie Robinson slips up a little bit there coming off of turn number 2, but Butch Baker continues to drive away.
Yeah, but Proudfoot, by the going up there, he's probably going 3, 4, maybe even 5 mile an hour faster than those guys in front of him from about the middle of the straightaway into the corner.
See Proudfoot now changing up his ways. He was running the top of the track for the first 6 turns here. Now in turns 3 and 4 on the 2nd lap, he goes down to the bottom. Going to stay down there in turns 1 and 2. Obviously, as Kenny Kibbe would say up in the booth before, you got to go where they ain't if you want to pass cars on dirt when you can run all over the track. Brandon Proudfoot doing just that as he continues to march up through the field. He started in 4th. He just barely takes away 2nd spot and is clear of Robbie Robinson. That's the man we're riding on board with, the driver of the 56 car.
Yeah, my guess is why he switched lanes is he was coming off the high lane and getting these great runs, but he had nowhere to go with it. The top 2 cars would move out into that outer lane in the middle of the straightaway to then turn in. He would have to check up not to get into them, and it just broke his momentum. But now he's challenging for the lead. He is on the bottom as across the start-finish line.
Yeah, Proudfoot all the way down on the bottom. That's Butch Baker on the high side. Proudfoot, though, looks like he's faster still than that car on the outside, looking to take the lead as they cross the start-finish line this time by. Butch Baker goes way up the track, gives Brandon Proudfoot the rest of the lead. Of course, there was about a half a car length, of interference between those drivers as they went down into turns 3 and 4. Proudfoot goes ahead to finish clearing him off the turn number 4 down the front straightaway. Now Butch Baker and Robbie Robinson have to fight for 2nd place. White flag, though, in the air.
Yeah, 1 more lap to go here for Brandon Proudfoot, and he's going to have that mission accomplished to get into the A main. But going to the back, though, right now, the one guy on the outside looking in looks to be Kevin Nunn.
Yeah, Brandon Proudfoot crosses the start-finish line to take the checkered flag here in the B main. Butch Baker in 2nd, Robbie Robinson 3rd, Joe Segala finishes in 4th. The man rounding out the top 5 is going to be Dylan Corey. Jason Dill finishes in 6th. Kevin Nunn is unfortunately the only driver we have on the grid here tonight that doesn't make the feature event. An absolute heartbreak for him. But John, it's time for our 5-minute warm-up, and this is crucial.
Yeah, this is a big thing here because now guys are going to have to get in those cars and start to make a plan on what they're going to do in the feature. Depending on where you're starting is going to dictate what you do with that plan. Are you going to run high? Are you going to have to run low? If you're back in the pack, you got to be prepared to run anywhere. If you're up front and you can kind of pick and choose where you're going to go, well, you figure out where you're best at. Are you better up high? You better down low? Figure it out right now.
You certainly do have to, and luckily for these drivers, you have a couple minutes. John, what you say we dial up one of these drivers here? Is there anyone you're kind of itching to talk to?
Yeah, let's bring Speeds up here. I told him he didn't have a choice. He's got to come up and talk to us.
Go ahead and get Steven Spees up in the booth. Steven, you went on a late race charge there to come from last to second there. If there was another lap, I guarantee you would have had it in that the C main race. Of course, try and move yourself up the grid for the feature event. How you feeling?
Feeling all right. It's a small track. We'll see what kind of lines work here just out in practice right now, trying top, bottom, middle to see maybe what might work for me because we got a long way to go to make some progress there tonight.
Certainly do, but I mean, you took a lot of cars between you and the leader out of the way by go ahead and finishing second there in your C main to even make the race. Luckily for you, even if you finished in second, there are only 6 cars vying for 6 spots. But when you're out on track, you kind of saw you in the middle of the track. Now that that high line is open up, you going up there, is the high line going to be the ripper tonight?
I would assume it's going to be. This is actually the first time I've run street stocks at I-55, but if it carries along with most things like the other tracks in iRacing, that's where we'll be. So we'll kind of put the right rear up there on the cushion and see how it goes. Hopefully we'll have some guys that are a little more afraid of that wall, running a little lower in the slick, and we can pick off some spots and maybe get lucky with some late race cautions or something, and be up in position to do something.
I assume then, speaking of pushing the cushion there up near the wall, if there is a late race restart, you want to start up top every time.
If the typical iRacing holds true, you definitely will want to be. Hopefully we'll be pleasantly surprised and have a track where we can run down on the bottom. Or I think last week we even were running pretty good through the slick in the middle. So this track's getting pretty black as we're out on it right now. So it could end up being a fun one. We'll see.
Stephen, I know typically you're a driver that likes to run down near the bottom of the track. I assume that'd be a strong suit for you if you could kind of race in the middle.
Yeah, that'd be great for me. I just am too inconsistent bouncing up off the wall there, and it gets kind of tiresome for me. So if I can kind of put it down here towards the wall where I'm trying to practice right now, I'll be a happy guy.
For sure. I don't mean to bring up any bad blood, but John says somebody might have put you in the wall the other day for a win or something. Is that true?
It is true. I was in a late model race last night in another league and made a pass for first, and no sooner did I do that than somebody who's, we'll make it nameless. We don't want to call people out, but put me into the wall immediately with like I wasn't even there. But it happens. We'll see and come back strong tonight, maybe in another race.
Yeah, championships are always an option. You can always pay them back later. I didn't say that, Stephen. Best of luck here in the race. Thank you so much for talking.
Real quick, can I ask one question here? What are you learning for tomorrow night? Are you seeing anything you want to check out tomorrow night? Or you see where Tony is going to run and smoke the field?
Well, tomorrow we're going to be on the wrong side of the fence, so I guess I should be looking out there and see if there's like a good snack bar or something. We can find some famous racetrack nachos or a snow cone or something maybe. I don't know.
Absolutely. Good luck here tonight, buddy.
Thanks.
Stephen, maybe down the front stretch, it looks like they got some nachos. I keep seeing people walk by with them, so maybe try just behind the front stretch grandstands.
I may give a little bit of everything. John's buying for the unnamed mishap last night. So.
Okay, sounds good, buddy.
Thanks.
Yeah, I promised him a nice shot of bourbon over at Cyberg's, which is a really good restaurant just up the road from here. So, yeah, that one cost me in more ways than one.
It is what it is. That's just short track racing, dirt racing. Of course, we're getting ready for that here in just a couple seconds. John, pretty excited for this one. It should be an awesome race.
Yeah, it really should. And I was just out there kind of ghosting along with them to take some laps. And, I know he was skeptical about the guys that run in the bottom, but I think they might be able to do it because you've really got to pedal being up top to keep the car out of the wall, which is going to slow those guys down a great deal.
Now time for the starting lineup for your feature event here. 40 minutes for 40 laps. Whatever happens soonest, my bet is on the laps. William Hargrave starts on pole. Chris Davis lines up to his outside. In row number 2, it's Billy Northcutt with J.R. Shepard up top. Malachi Smith rounds out the top 5 starting positions with Jeffrey Harden, who is in 6th. Bobby Hayes lines up in 7th with Brandon Proudfoot in 8th. Stephen Spees, Butch Baker round out the top 10, John.
Yeah, and starting in the 11th spot is going to be Brennan Myers, and after him will be, oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong thing. It's been a while since I've done this, I think. Starting 11th is going to be Kevin Davis. Next to him will be Robbie Robinson. Then John Wilson, Joe Segala, Hunter Hill, Dylan Corey, and Brennan Myers. And rounding out the field is going to be Jason Dill.
Thank you so much, John. It should be pretty interesting here as we get down to the next couple laps. William Hargrave's going to choose the inside once more. Doesn't really have a whole lot of confidence there in the high side. Chris Davis going to stick up there. We'll see what he and J.R. Shepard can do on the high side. iRacing pace truck pulls off the racetrack down onto pit road. William Hargraves fires off almost immediately. It's a rocket ship start for him. He clears himself ahead of Chris Davis. Now it's Chris Davis on the high side versus Billy Northcutt for that second position. J.R. Shepard right there in the weeds looking to take advantage if anybody makes a mistake. And look at Brandon Proudfoot going 3 wide up around the top of the racetrack in the background.
Yeah, first lap, you see a lot of guys. Most of the field is on the bottom. You got a few guys up there rim riding, and like I said, man, I was just out there, and those guys are going to have to really pedal it. It's going to slow them down up top.
Yeah, J.R. Shepard continuing to have a lot of troubles there getting around the 00 car of Billy Northcutt. Billy's been checking up J.R., trying to see if he can't get a better run there on Chris Davis. J.R. Shepard having to do a really good job of trying to attack for Billy Northcutt and then trying to defend for Malachi Smith in that 113 car. It's an absolute hornet's nest there from about third on back. J.R. Shepard battling with Malachi Smith. The first 2 wide battle is Jeffrey Harden on the inside, racing against Bobby Hayes on the outside. That's a battle currently for the 6th position. That's where we see our 2 hard chargers of the night. You got Steven Spies on the inside, Brandon Proudfoot, on the outside, the 22 car. The champ, as we'll call him. So consistent on these tracks.
Yeah, and watching this race unfold, that middle line, watch that middle line. That middle line's going to become viable, and I'll bet you it's going to end up faster than that bottom line before the night's out.
Faster than the bottom line. Whoa, Jeffrey Harden goes around, still no caution. I don't know how he saved that car, but I believe he did a complete 360. Luckily there, the 121 car of Kevin Davis was able to save him, but that's got to be a big heartbreak for Jeffrey. He's having such a great run tonight.
Yep, but we're on lap 7. He's got plenty of time to get all that back, and he's got his work cut out for him to do so, though.
And luckily for him, John, the track is super racy. A lot of viable options out there in terms of lines to run on.
Yeah, absolutely. And this all comes down to everybody's right foot. The guys that can really use it and be delicate and, use top-notch throttle control, they're in heaven right now. They're going to just flourish with a track like this.
They certainly will. William Hargraves continues to pull away from the rest of the field. He's about 1.1 seconds clear of Chris Davis. J.R. Shepard just barely making his way to the inside there of Billy Northcutt. We continue to look at the battles here all the way up and down the field. This is Hunter Hill racing against Dylan Corey. You see a bunch of drivers there, and these guys race just as hard in the back of the pack as they do up near the front. There's another fantastic battle. Mike, if we could focus on Brandon Proudfoot and Steven Spies there racing at about the 7th position. That's Proudfoot on the high side, Steven Spies on the low side. These 2 drivers were racing each other up through the field. Originally, Brandon Proudfoot got a much better run, just caught the traffic at a much better spot, and then he was able to get a couple seconds clear there of Steven Spies, but Steven is driven really back around now. Brandon Proudfoot almost clear. This time he comes completely clear of those 2, and Brandon Proudfoot says, I don't like the top. I'd rather run the middle with you, Steven, and these 2 continue. That's a crossover, John. That's textbook.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, that middle line is where I would be running. I might venture up top in 3 and 4, but down in 1 and 2, that middle line is where you got to be right now. And and you talked about, you race hard through the field, and I'll tell you, anytime I've been towards the back of the pack, I found that I race harder back in the pack than I do up front, because up front, there's a little more give and take. Guys in the back, they've got to go. They've got to make passes, and you don't have quite as much give and take, and everybody's rooting and gouging. Being back in the field, it's tough.
Whoa, 2 cars make contact. That was Steven Spies on the outside, Robbie Robinson on the inside. John, you mentioned it, 2 drivers just going for the same piece of real estate out there on the track.
Yep, yeah, easy to do. And, Steve and I were kidding each other the other day, but, these cars, you get them sideways in the corner, and some guys use their mirrors, some guys don't. Sometimes use sound. It's easy to lose track of where somebody is around you, or you might think they're clear, and maybe they just get a better run than they did the last lap, and you move in up the track or down the track, and they're there, and next thing you know, you got contact or a crash. easy to do on dirt.
For a while there, we were looking at the battle between the 113 car of Malachi Smith and the 13 car of Bobby Hayes. Those two continuing to hash out that battle here in the feature as they did in their C-main event. Now we're looking here at Kevin Davis in the 21 car and Butch Baker in the 97. These two racing side by side for a number of laps here. Is just ahead of them. You see Steven Spies getting to the inside there of Robbie Robinson. We'll have to see how that battle shapes out between the two of them. But John, I'm really glad you mentioned, you're often racing harder in the mid-pack than you are up top, and that's just because you got so many more drivers. Imagine a bell curve, if you will, and the bulk of the driver is going to be right smack dab in the middle of the field, and at that point you have to attack, but then you have to defend, and you're attacking 3 guys, and you're defending from 3 guys, and it's really crazy when you can run all over the track.
Yeah, and then you couple the fact, too, guys in the middle and the back, they're there for a reason. They're not necessarily bad drivers, but maybe they're at a track that doesn't agree with them, or their cars are just not handling the way that they want. They're struggling for whatever reason. Well, guys that struggle tend to move around on the track a lot more. So, guys are a little more inconsistent further back in the pack. So, trying to make a move, counting on somebody to do something doesn't always work out. And, you couple that with, like I said, you got to go and that sense of urgency, and man, it makes for some tough sledding once you get back to, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th in the field.
On your screen right here, you see the battle. This is for second position. That's Chris Davis in second, Billy Northcutt in third, J.R. Shepard currently the driver in the 4th position. We're on lap 23 here if you're just now joining us. We've gone caution-free for the first half of this race. It's been awesome racing up and down the field. Huge slide job there for Butch Baker. Almost takes out Steven Spies back in the middle of the pack. Chris Davis, though, continues to try and slot himself as the for sure driver heir to second place on the throne if anything were to happen to William Hargraves. He's about 2 seconds clear, though, of the rest of this field, starting with Chris Davis. And, man, if you're William Hargraves, you continue to see the back of the pack here. You're inching closer and closer to them, and a lap car is not really too... Whoa, Robbie Robinson hard into the inside wall. Caution is out.
Yeah, he was just trying to gas it up a little bit more to try to, get a better run down that backstretch than Steven Spies, and that back end just kind of looped around on him. And I'd been watching that battle for about 2 or 3 laps, and man, that was a heavyweight fight. Those guys were duking it out lap after lap at both ends of the track.
Yeah, that was a heavyweight slugfest, and it was going to be interesting to see which driver cleared the other faster, because as soon as one would pass the other, they'd slow back down, and they'd just continue to fight it out amongst themselves. There's no doubt in my mind both of these drivers have podium speed, but it's just having to get around some of the slower cars here and get up there into the clean air where you can run where you'd like and do what Brandon Proudfoot did. As soon as he cleared those 2 guys, he continued to pull away because they fought with each other.
Yeah, and now, we're going to double them up here and go back to it. And I'll tell you, 15 laps to go, that intensity and that sense of urgency goes up for everybody, not just the guys in the back, but now the guys in the front. Guy in the outside front row, here's his chance. Chris Davis, here's your chance to get the lead. You got to be on it.
Yeah, Mr. Aggressive, as we like to call him up in the booth. Chris Davis starts on the outside. William Hargraves puts his foot on the loud pedal extremely early again, this time by. Very much legal for him to do that, though. Chris Davis really trying to slide down in front of Billy Northcutt, slot himself into second right away. Billy Northcutt in the third, J.R. Shepard in fourth. J.R. Shepard right now on the outside of Billy Northcutt, seeing what he can do up there. Going to pull alongside him, not quite clear this time by J.R. Shepard. Really trying to get that last podium place there. See what he can do with Chris Davis. I really felt like that entire last run, J.R. Shepard was faster, but there's just certain track position that you can't have if you're having to follow somebody. So we're going to see what J.R. can do here. This is the battle for third place. J.R. Shepard almost cleared there. Going to see if he can try attack Chris Davis. William Hargraves continuing ever so slightly to pull away from the rest of the field. They're 3 wide though. Bobby Hayes, this is for 5th place on track. Hayes up top, Spies in the middle. Brandon Proudfoot on the low side. Just behind this battle here we have for third place.
Yeah, they're 3 wide, right behind them too, for about 2 or 3 rows deep. Looks like a mini Talladega out there.
A mini Talladega, but these guys are having to get out of the throttle and then pedal these things around, John. It's not just keeping it batted.
Yeah, and I can't begin to tell you how much fun and hard it is too in the car to do this and not getting in each other. And these guys are doing a fantastic job as Spies and Proudfoot and Davis are 3 wide again.
Yeah, Mike, let's look at this battle here for the 5th position. These guys are really close to each other, practically banging doors as they come off the corner. Bobby Hayes wins out for right now. Steven Speed slots back into the 6th position. Then you got Brandon Proudfoot up there. Rim riding, caution not once again, though.
Yeah, I see Joe Segal involved. Had a few cars involved there. Oh, they're 3 wide coming out of the corner, and looked like the 25 just got turned over by Jason Dills, crossed over his nose and just clogged up the track, and the other guys just had nowhere to go.
Yeah, Talladega SRX here now, nowhere to go on track. That might just be the big one for tonight. We're on lap 33 out of 40. Mike, thank you so much for all those fantastic views and bringing us to all the battles that are on the track. Doing a really great job is Mike Yao up in the director's box in the production trailer, of course, doing a fantastic job as always. Really shouldn't be too surprised at all by that. But John, we get inside 10 laps to go. All the restarts from here on out are single file. Yeah,
I wish iRacing would get rid of this, but evidently they're not anytime soon. So, yeah, that's going to be a big advantage. That's going to have a big advantage for Hargreaves here. He's going to be able to fire. He's not going to have to do too hard to try to defend. He's going to be able to pick the line, stay in the line, no change in lanes, that kind of stuff. And kind of goes the same for everybody else here. And you might see somebody a little bit further back try to make that dive bomb, if you will, down into turn 1 and see if they can make something happen.
Yeah, I can tell you all the drivers that are in an odd number position, with the exception of the leader, William Hargreaves, very mad about this. All the drivers in an even number position, that is. Green flag back, though, out in the air. If you're up top, you would have hated this. If you're on the bottom, you're a big fan of what's going on right here. William Hargreaves pulls away from Chris Davis once again. Chris Davis clearing to 2nd. J.R. Shepard clears into 3rd. Billy Northcutt, though, tapping the outside wall just a little bit. He checks himself up so much so Bobby Hayes nearly gets to his inside as they come off of turn number 4. Brandon Proudfoot, Steven Spees doing a great job trying to battle up here through the field. Right now, they are in 6th and 8th place, respectively. Kevin Davis splitting the 2 of them. How about this run, though, from Bobby Hayes? He's doing a great job up in the top 5.
Yeah, he has been. He's been solid all night, battling guys and hanging on to that spot here. So, good run for him tonight. I'll tell you who's a big winner tonight so far, though, and don't want to jinx him here as we come to about 5 to go, is J.R. Shepard, 2nd in the points. Brandon Proudfoot, the guy he's chasing, is quite a few cars behind him, so this is going to be a pickup opportunity for Shepard here tonight.
Certainly, John, and these guys earn points in the qualifying, the heat races, the mains, and the main event here. So Brandon Proudfoot really doing a poor job in all of these events. Certainly going to hit him pretty large in the points. J.R. Shepard, of course, his championship rival, running in the 2nd position in the points, and then 3rd position out on track. They cross the start-finish line now. 3 laps, now, before we end this race. This is crunch time for Brandon Proudfoot. He's really got to put his foot down.
Yeah, he's got to make something happen here, and he's driving it harder. And oh, caution out. Looks like Butch Baker on the back straightaway, possibly.
This is a replay here of what happened. Looks like he's battling with Jeffrey Harden here. John, talk me through this one.
Yeah, looks like the back end of Baker just comes out a little bit. He's getting a little bit too much throttle, spinning the tires, and yeah, that is something you got to chalk up to a racing deal there, because, you know, when you're spinning the tires like that and sideways, you're not accelerating, and as you're coming out of the corner, most everybody else is accelerating, you know, and then when you're just spinning the tires, real easy to misjudge that, because the guy, you know, behind you, he can't see, you know, that you're spinning them that much or how much speed you're losing, and just a tough racing deal there for Butch here tonight.
Certainly is. John, caution once again out on the racetrack. We're here on lap number 39 of 40, and whilst green flag laps are the only ones that count, we don't count the caution laps, so this race is going to finish under green regardless. We don't have green, white, checkered finishes, so if there is a wreck on the last lap, that'll be it. If you're William Hargreaves, you didn't really want to see this. He had a pretty sizable lead in front of Chris Davis, but iRacing pace truck pulls down pit road. Hargreaves charges off there on the restart. Shepard and Davis clear for the podium. The last battle here, you see Billy Northcutt trying to slide it down there on the bottom. Steven Spees looking to make up another place there. That's a battle for the top 5. You're looking across the deck lid there of Billy Northcutt.
Yeah, we get one to go here, and they are nose to tail for the first about 4 or 5, and we about where Steven Spies is. Big surprise. We've seen him battle all night. That's the first battle on track for a spot here.
Certainly have Spies, throws it into turn number 3 and 4, but it's going to be William Hargraves. That's the first man to cross the checkered flag stripe. He wins the race here at I-55 Speedway. Chris Davis finishes in second place. J.R. Shepard rounds out the podium. A fantastic race here, John. I was pleasantly surprised with just how racy this track was here tonight.
Yeah, just an equalizer. When it gets that slick, everybody's got to lift. Everybody's got to pedal. Those guys in the top can't rip the lip because it's just almost impossible. You're going to end up in the wall. So, yeah, good racing, and I-55 puts on a show. I hope to see just as good of a show tomorrow, that's for sure.
Fingers crossed that you do. The man who comes home in 4th place is Billy Northcutt. Steven Spies finishes in 5th. Great job by him. Great recovery drive for the man in the 55 car. Bobby Hayes finishes in 6th. Kevin Davis finishes in 7th. Brandon Proudfoot, good recovery for him. Had a pretty rough night here tonight, John, but can't be too mad with the top 10 finish. Solid points day. We'll see what that does in the championship standings shortly. Dylan Corey comes home in 9th place. Jeffrey Harden rounds out the top 10.
Yeah, and finishing 11th is going to be John Wilson, and then 12th is going to be Hunter Hill. Brennan Myers is going to come home 13th. Malachi Smith is going to come home 14th. He's going to be followed by the 81 of Joe Segala, who brings it home 15th. Robbie Robinson, who we saw up towards the front a little bit early and fell back to about 16th, and Jason Dill 17th. And our last caution of the night was brought up by Butch Baker there, and he's going to round out the field tonight in the 18th spot.
We're going to go ahead and bring in our top 3 finishes here. The first 3 of those, of course, is William Hargraves, the man that wins the race. William, you did a great job all night long. You're certainly the fastest guy out on track.
Hey, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, that was tonight was fairly easy for me, but I had open track. I didn't have to race people.
You didn't, but it was an absolute hornet's nest behind you. Speak about, is it just this track being so great for the clean air, or is it just kind of par for the course on dirt?
I'm honestly, I'm not real sure about this track yet. Last season, this track raced quite a bit different. It was definitely real top dominant. I don't know if that update is changing all the racing or not, to tell you the truth or not, but tonight I literally just didn't overdrive the car in the slick and just kind of let the car get in the corner easy and get it pointed. And once you got it pointed, I mean, you could really put the gas back down. It would take it on the rear end real good, and it just drove hard off. So I don't know. I mean, we'll see what happens, I guess. Like I said, I haven't raced enough with this new update to really know what's what yet.
Certainly, obviously, the iRacing updates change a lot of things based on just tire handling, how the track progresses. Were you prepared to run the high line if it came in, or was that something you just kind of knew in the back of your mind wasn't going to happen?
I kind of thought it actually would come in before the race started, but as the race progressed, I knew it wasn't going to come in. I mean, later on in the race, obviously, but that middle was definitely the place to be. It was working good there. Like I said, I don't know what the deal is with these updates. I know nothing about it. I just like to race and have a good time for sure.
Certainly, William, before I let you go, is there anyone you want to thank for your win tonight?
Yeah, I'd like to thank everybody in the league for sure. I mean, we had a really good green flag run early there, a couple cautions late in the race, but it's tough to find good racing like this, and it definitely keeps me coming back, and I think it keeps most of these other guys coming back, and Luell does a really good job making it that way for everybody to race week in and week out. I got to thank you guys for doing the broadcast. I got to thank all my Dirt Panda Racing teammates, Viv's Liquor, Malm Electric Motorsales.com. Also, I got to thank KC Speed Shop and Wild Bill's Race Designs.
Well, thank you for your time tonight, William. Congratulations on the win. I'm going to pass it down to John Hine. He's caught up with our second place finisher, Chris Davis.
Thanks, guys.
Chris Davis, this is John up at the booth. You got a copy?
Hey, John, how are you?
I'm doing good, man. I tell you, solid run here tonight, bringing it home in second place. But I'm going to tell you, I think the story, other than that second place, which is impressive, but tell me about that track. You guys look like you guys were on a full-blown skating ring.
I would say that's a fair description. And, the BRL has done so much for me in terms of learning not just better, cleaner racecraft, but also car control. I've learned a lot from you on throttle control. Whenever the track gets slick, I just hear J.R. Shepard in my head saying, drive it like it's an asphalt track and you're driving a super late model. And that's kind of what works. Just don't spin the tires.
Yeah, the secret when the track's like this, get it to roll as good as you can, match it with the throttle, keep the RPMs as high as you can, and without spinning the tires. But and that seems to be what you did. Mission accomplished tonight. The different lines, I saw guys kind of about a lane and a half up. I saw a lot of guys run in the middle. Which lane did you feel was the best lane to be in tonight?
It came and went. There were a couple of times where I would put it all the way down on the inside wall, and there'd be a lap or two where it felt like you'd start to pick up more tack and get some speed, and then that would only be there for a lap or so, and William was just running away from me no matter where he ran, so I was just trying a bunch of different lines. Surprisingly, John, it seemed like being in the slick and not spinning the tires was faster than trying to focus on getting some tacky track.
Yeah, it totally looked that way, so I think you were spot on that, because the guys that tried to rip the lip would just tag the wall and lose all their momentum, and to not hit the wall, they had to completely come out of it, and so they're going through the slick. So you definitely made the right choice there, because we could see it visually up in the booth. Driving right through the center, I think, was definitely the place to be. But I tell you, like I said, though, good run tonight, some good momentum, get you to carry on over. I don't know if you're going to race the other races tonight, but this is a good way to start your Friday and then Saturday night here at BRL.
Yeah, I look forward to the BRL whenever I can run it. It really is just something that gets me away from my work life and all that stress, and I have a lot of fun here, and there's so much respect in the league. When I first joined it, I came in pretty hot, and I know I ruined a couple people's nights, probably yours once or twice. But, you're on a slick track, and you have people like Billy Northcutt and J.R. Shepard behind you, and they're not going to turn you intentionally. So it just makes it easier to stay smooth.
Absolutely. Well, I tell you, who would you like to give a shout out to for a great second place finish tonight?
Well, first, I want to thank my Aunt Lorraine up in New Hampshire. I think she's tuning in tonight. She does most Fridays, so if you're watching, Aunt Lorraine, awesome. Also, I want to thank my Lone Star racing team. We have grown by leaps and bounds. We've partnered with Rico Setups. We are now creating setups for free for the SK Modifieds, so check that out. Rico now has the setup manager that will help you evaluate how you're doing versus your setup and their star drivers. So check them out. And then I just got to thank you guys in the booth, Lowell for hosting, the BRL for how much skill I've learned here, and the ability to race with such a respectful group. So thanks to all of you.
Well, thank you, and congratulations again. Enjoy it, and we'll see you on down the road, Chris.
See you guys.
That's Chris Davis, our second place finisher. Austin?
Yeah, John, caught up tickled to death to get to talk to my Different Path Motorsports teammate and the owner of the operation, J.R. Shepard. J.R., you bring this thing home in third position. You had a lot of speed out there tonight. It was mostly just having to find a way around the other drivers out there on track, man. Talk me through the race.
Yeah, thanks, Austin. First time I've been on this track. I just purchased it a few minutes before we raced, and I was pleasantly surprised with how well the track kind of fell into my driving style there. But it was slick all night long, so it was not a track that you could just go push hard and keep that accelerator down. You had to actually drive the car both with the brake and the throttle, and that's usually the type of track conditions that I enjoy racing in, because it's challenging. And just everything played out tonight perfect for us during the A-main.
It certainly did. JR, I'm hearing from a couple guys that we've interviewed, as well as Sean up in the booth. Pretty surprised this track didn't wash up all the way out to the wall where the grip was, and it stayed kind of mostly in the center. Did that catch you off guard too?
Yeah, definitely a little bit, because I'd watched the race here last season when we ran, and everybody was up against the wall. So that's what I was expecting tonight, especially being the first time coming here. And it sounds like some updates that iRacing did, either with the car or with the track, kind of changed the moisture level, I guess, a little bit, and the cars just didn't react the same. So yeah, it seemed like the dominant line was pretty well right in the middle of the track tonight.
JR, next week this traveling circus goes to Cedar Lake Speedway, and of course tomorrow the BRL Super Late Model Series goes to Five Flags. Your thoughts on those tracks? Obviously, you've had a lot of success at Five Flags.
Yeah, Cedar Lake, I've had some decent runs there on the dirt side, kind of hit or miss. So it just kind of depends on how the car and the track conditions are on that given week. But yeah, we'll look forward to going there. And Five Flags will be okay tomorrow. I'm probably not the best in super late model there at all, so got some learning to do overnight. And we'll try to get on tomorrow. We'll do the best that we can for sure.
But JR, is there anyone you'd like to thank before we let you go here?
Yeah, just thanks to the Bootleg Racing League for giving us a place to race on Friday and Saturday nights with a great group of guys. You can see by watching the broadcast that these guys race really hard, but they're very respectful on how they race each other. So that makes it very enjoyable. So appreciate that, and of course to you guys at the Virtual Grip Network for putting on the broadcast and making us look good each and every week. So thank you guys, and congratulations to William on the win tonight.
Well, thank you for your time, JR, and congratulations on your third place finish.
Yep, thank you guys.
That was J.R. Shepard. He came home tonight in the third position. John, in terms of wrapping up here for the end of the night, pretty good race. Obviously shocked that the groove kind of didn't wash all the way up to the wall, but there was some fantastic racing.
Yeah, I mean, the slick did go all the way up to the wall. It was just they just didn't have the grip levels to really ride it and keep the car. The car still wanted to move and slide into the wall there, and it caused a lot of problems. Guys were having to get way out of the throttle, and that allowed that middle line. The guys could stay in the throttle a little longer, pick it up a little bit earlier, and it turned into the faster line tonight. And and the whole field seemed to recognize it because everybody stayed middle to the bottom. So congratulations to everybody to be able to see that and adjust accordingly. And that's funny enough, that's one of the things that makes it difficult here in BRL. Guys can see these things, they react to it, and you're not going to just stumble on something and get an advantage on the field. These guys are smart and they race smart and put on a heck of a show.
They do indeed. And in terms of the next BRL Dirt Street Stock Series broadcast, it's going to be next Friday, July 22nd. The series takes on Cedar Lake Speedway. That goes live at 7:10 p.m. Eastern Time. The next Virtual Grip Network broadcast is going to be tomorrow, July 16th. BRL Super Late Model Series goes to Five Flags Speedway. That goes live at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. This has been a production of the Virtual Grip Network. On behalf of myself, Austin Belke, the Professor John Hine up in the booth, Mike Yao in the production trailer, and everyone behind the scenes at the Virtual Grip Network, thank you so much for watching, and have a good night.